"Take off that ink. That badge is not for trainees." The words cut through the afternoon haze like a shard of glass. 80 recruits midway through a push-up went rigid. A dozen instructors pivoted as one. The training yard fell into a hush so deep the distant whine of generators felt like a roar. Lieutenant Nova Reed held her plank, muscles locked, sweat forming a slick pool under her hands on the hot pavement. She showed no reaction, her breathing unchanged, her form perfect as Colonel Damon Holt's shadow draped over her like a shroud. The scuff of his boots on concrete marked his approach. Each footfall was deliberate, measured, the sound of a man who had already passed judgment. "On your feet, trainee." Nova sprang up in a single, smooth movement, her heels clicking together, her hands tight at her sides. She stared at the horizon where the desert bled into the sky in a stark, unforgiving line. Never look at authority unless commanded. "Yes, sir." Holt gestured to her left shoulder. Above the edge of her tank top, dark lines peeked out. A wing, intricate curves, sharp details. "That symbol on your shoulder, where did it come from?" "I earned it, sir." The statement hung in the air for 3 long seconds before a ripple of laughter spread through the ranks. It began as a few quiet snickers, then built into a wave of open mockery. From the third row, a voice carried across the yard, "Earned it. Right." The laughter grew. Holt lifted a hand, and the noise died instantly. He moved another step closer, so near Nova could smell his coffee and aftershave. It was intimidation posing as inspection. "You earned a badge that isn't in any military database, an insignia for a unit that, according to every official document, ceased to exist." Nova's right hand twitched. Her fingertips grazed the cargo pocket of her pants. A challenge coin sat inside, its cold, heavy form a solid presence against the fabric. Her thumb stroked its milled edge once, twice, a silent rhythm that was older than any words. "Records can be sealed, sir." "Convenient." Holt's voice dropped, a low growl that forced everyone to strain. His words landed like hammer blows in the quiet. "Very convenient. When someone wants to play at being a soldier, when they crave the honor but not the cost, they get a tattoo, they buy surplus gear, they learn the lingo, and they think that makes them one of us." He turned, his voice rising to address the entire formation. "This is a lie. This is what you get when someone confuses a needle with service, ink with blood." Nova's jaw clenched. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out, 4 counts hold. The breathing exercises of an operator drilled until they were second nature, the kind that kept you alive when everything else was trying to kill you. 15 feet away, Captain Aaron Cole stood with his arms crossed, his gaze fixed on the visible part of Nova's tattoo. The line sparked a memory he couldn't grasp, something from 5 years back. Smoke, flames, and strong hands yanking him from a mangled vehicle. On one of those hands, between the glove and the sleeve, he had seen a flash of ink, an eagle's wing. His heart hammered in his chest. For years, he'd looked for that symbol and found nothing until this moment. Holt stepped into Nova's personal space, violating the formal distance between ranks. "You will have that tattoo removed. Since laser surgery takes time, you have 2 choices. Keep it covered at all times, or you can withdraw from this program. Is that clear?" "Perfectly, sir." "Good, return to the barracks. Be in my office at 4 o'clock. We will discuss your options." Nova did not salute. Holt had not offered one. She simply turned, grabbed her jacket from a nearby rack, and strode across the yard. Every eye watched her. Phones appeared. Whispers trailed her like a persistent shadow. Behind her, the formation dissolved into buzzing groups of gossip. Within 2 minutes, a picture of her tattoo was already making the rounds in multiple group chats. Cole stood motionless, staring at the spot Nova had just occupied. His hand went to his own shoulder, his fingers tracing a scar hidden by his uniform, a scar from Kandahar, from 2020. From the day 11 soldiers were killed and a single ghost saved his life. With unsteady hands, he took out his phone and searched 3 words, "Phantom Crest Kandahar." The results were sparse, each one scrubbed clean of detail. A short news piece, a memorial page with 11 names, all listed KIA. No specifics, no photos, no survivors mentioned, but he had been there. He remembered the blast, the searing heat, the hands that pulled him to safety, and the 4 words whispered before their owner vanished. "Stay down, stay quiet." He had never seen the face, only the hands and the ink. Cole zoomed in on a declassified image. 11 soldiers in desert gear stood before a helicopter, their faces obscured by helmets. In the back row, a 12th person was almost hidden, a smaller, leaner figure, their face in profile. But the shoulder was unmistakable, an eagle clutching a sword, the very design he had just seen on Nova Reed. A tightness gripped his chest. He looked toward the administration building where Holt had gone, his shoulders squared, walking like a man convinced he had just solved a problem. Cole shut down his phone and put it away. He had to think. He had to recall the details he'd forced himself to forget because remembering was agony. Because 11 names on a wall were 11 shattered families. Because the guilt of surviving never faded. But if Nova was who he suspected, if her tattoo was genuine, then another truth was also buried. The mess hall that evening was a symphony of clattering trays and echoing voices. The air was thick with the smell of reheated chicken and boiled vegetables. Nova moved through the line like a machine. Chicken, broccoli, rice, water. No extras. She chose a corner table with her back to the wall, giving her a clear view of both doors, an old habit from a life where such things kept you breathing. She had just taken her third bite when Lieutenant Bryce Garrett dropped into the seat opposite her. He didn't ask, just sat, placing his phone on the table with the screen up. It showed a zoomed-in, high-contrast photo of Nova's tattoo, posted on the base's unofficial social page. The caption read, "Wannabe playing soldier, who lets this happen?" 78 shares in 2 hours, Garrett said, leaning back with a smug grin. Guess people enjoy calling out a fraud. Nova glanced at the phone, then returned to her meal. She lifted her fork and continued eating. Garrett's smile grew. No fight in you, no denial, not even a little anger. Nova chewed deliberately, swallowed, and placed her fork down with quiet precision. Ink can be removed, official records can't. Records, Garrett scoffed. I dug deep, Reed, really deep. There's no unit named Phantom Crest. Not now, not ever. No deployment history for any Lieutenant Nova Reed matching your profile. You're a ghost and not a very believable one. Nova took a drink of water, her gaze meeting his with a calm born from surviving things far worse than online ridicule. Are you finished? Garrett stood, grabbing his phone. Yeah, I'm done. Savor your last few meals here, wannabe. Holt is going to end you. He walked off, his thumbs already flying across the screen. Nova watched him go, counted to 10, and then pulled out her own phone. It was an older, encrypted device stripped of all personal apps. She opened a single, unnamed program, its icon a string of numbers that changed every 3 days. Inside was one contact, also just a string of numbers. She typed 4 words, phase 1 done, he's reacting. The reply came in 5 seconds, hold your position, 72 hours. Nova erased both messages, and the app scrubbed any trace of their existence. She put the phone away and quietly finished her food. Across the hall, Specialist Mara Lynn watched the exchange from her own table. She saw the phone, the post, the climbing share count. She recognized that feeling, the crushing weight of being a target, the powerlessness of watching your reputation get torn apart by strangers. 6 months prior, she had been in Nova's exact position, accused of losing classified gear. Her name was dragged through every group chat and whispered conversation. The equipment was found 2 weeks later in a locker signed for by Colonel Holt himself. There was no apology, just a quiet transfer and a permanent black mark on her record that would shadow her career. Lynn looked at Nova again, at her perfect posture and controlled movements. She looked like someone who had endured far worse than gossip and knew not to waste energy on unwinnable fights. Lynn pulled out her phone and found Garrett's post, reading the comments filled with laughing emojis and angry accusations. One read, stolen valor trash, belongs in prison. Her finger hovered over the reply button. She wanted to say something to suggest there might be more to the story. But she had learned that defending the accused just made you the next victim. She closed the app. Not yet. Nova finished her meal, cleared her tray with the same mechanical efficiency, and walked out into the evening air. No one spoke to her, but dozens of eyes followed, judging and recording. The oppressive heat had faded to something merely unpleasant. She took the long way to the barracks, passing the memorial wall where 11 names were carved into black stone. 11 bronze plaques showed faces she knew, voices she remembered, promises she had made. She stopped, reading each name, tracing the letters with her eyes. Her hand went to her pocket and she pulled out the challenge coin, feeling its solid weight. One side showed an eagle in flight, the other bore a simple code. Her thumb moved over the grooves, a familiar comfort. A dying commander had pressed this coin into her hand. 11 coins had been recovered from the wreckage, but 12 had been made, one for the ghost who had survived. She pocketed the coin and continued on. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in the colors of rust and fire, colors that reminded her of burning metal and choices that never stopped haunting you. The barracks were nearly empty. Nova's room was small and plain, just as she liked it. She sat on her bunk, back to the wall, and took out a small paper notebook. It was a record that couldn't be hacked. It contained dates, times, and observations she had been collecting for weeks. Holt's schedule, his phone calls, the private contractors who visited his office, and supply requisitions that didn't match the inventory. She had been patient, playing the part of a marginal trainee, and Holt had swallowed the bait. Now came the difficult part, holding on as he tried to crush her. Men like Holt didn't just sideline threats, they destroyed them, and each attempt would give her the evidence she needed. The pre-dawn siren blared, signaling the start of the next day. Nova dressed in the dark, her hands lacing her boots with practiced speed. She joined the river of bodies flowing to the PT yard. Colonel Holt stood at the front, clipboard in hand, his face a mask of stone. Beside him was Captain Cole, his expression carefully blank. "Today's leadership evaluation will determine your qualification scores," Holt announced, his voice sharp in the cool air. "This is not optional. Fail and you start over. Succeed and you move on." His gaze found Nova. "Assuming you are still with us by the end of the day." A few recruits laughed. Nova remained at ease, her face unreadable. Cole watched, his jaw tight. Holt called the first group. It was a standard obstacle course: rope climb, wall traverse, barbed wire crawl, and a 50-meter fireman's carry. Nova's group was third. The other 4 trainees kept their distance, as if her supposed failure was contagious. One of them, Sergeant Kyle Brennan, made a point of looking at Nova. "Try not to hold us back, wannabe." Nova ignored him, her focus on the course. She planned her angles and identified the most efficient routes. When the whistle blew, she shot forward, her first steps a perfect burst of power. She was on the rope before 2 others had even started. Her grip was an operator's lock, not a trainee's panicked clutch. She climbed with smooth, powerful movements, her body a coiled spring. Cole's eyes narrowed. That wasn't basic training form. That was elite operator form, the kind carved into the nervous system through thousands of hours of pain and repetition. At the top, Nova slapped the beam and descended in a controlled slide, landing in a perfect crouch that absorbed all the force. She was already sprinting toward the next obstacle before Brennan had even reached the rope. She scaled the 8-foot wall, finding handholds others had missed, and rolled out of the landing to conserve momentum. Under the barbed wire, she moved like a creature of the earth, low and fast. She finished first, a full 45 seconds ahead of the next person. Holt scribbled a note on his clipboard without looking up. "Next group." Nova walked to the side, her breathing even. Cole approached, offering a water bottle. She took it with a nod. "Where did you learn that?" Cole asked, his voice low. Nova drank, then handed the bottle back. "That's classified, sir." "That rope technique, the descent, that's not standard." "No, sir, it is not." "Do you know which units train that way?" Nova looked at him, her eyes calm and deep like still water. "I couldn't say, sir." Before Cole could ask more, Holt's voice cracked across the yard. "Captain Cole, a word, now." Cole shot a final glance at Nova and walked to Holt, who was waiting by an equipment shed with a thunderous expression. "What do you think you're doing?" Holt hissed. "Observing the trainees, sir. It's my job." "You are fraternizing with a known liar." "With all due respect, sir, she just set a course record by a huge margin." Holt stepped closer, his presence aggressive. "She is a fraud, and you are validating her by even speaking to her." Cole stood firm. "If she's a fraud, the system will confirm it. If not, then she's not." Holt's voice turned to ice. "I am giving you a direct order, Captain. Stay away from that trainee. Do not speak to her, do not engage with her, do not offer any appearance of support. Do you understand?" Cole's jaw worked. He wanted to argue, to show Holt the photo, to ask the questions that had kept him up at night. But the chain of command was absolute. "Understood, sir." "Excellent, get back to it." Cole returned to his post but continued to watch, storing every detail. By noon, the taunts were no longer whispered. In the equipment room, Sergeant Brennan intentionally slammed his shoulder into Nova, hard enough to make her stumble. She steadied herself on the doorframe without a word. "Watch yourself, Ghost," Brennan sneered to the laughter of 2 others. "Don't want you to break. I doubt fakes get medical." Nova straightened, adjusted her bag, and walked past him. "What the tattoo artist didn't teach you how to talk back?" Brennan yelled after her. He started to follow, but Cole appeared, blocking his path. "Stand down, Sergeant." Brennan's smirk vanished. "Sir, I was just—" "I know what you were doing. It won't happen again." Brennan looked from Cole to Nova's retreating back. Something in the captain's eyes made him back down. "Yes, sir." Cole watched Nova disappear. He had to contact someone off base, someone with higher clearance. If Nova was who he thought, then Holt wasn't just mistaken, he was a danger. That afternoon, Nova was called to the administration building. Lieutenant Garrett delivered the summons with a venomous smile. "Colonel wants to see you. Something about your service record. This should be fun." Nova secured the armory and walked across the base. The admin building was cold and stark, with buzzing fluorescent lights that seemed designed to cause headaches. Holt's office door was open. When Nova stepped into the doorway, she saw this was no simple meeting. Holt was there, but so were 3 other officers. It wasn't a conversation, it was an ambush. "Shut the door, Lieutenant," Holt ordered. Nova closed it, the click of the latch sounding unnervingly final. "Sit." She sat, her back straight, her hands on her knees. Holt pushed a folder toward her. "Your service record request was returned this morning. Would you like to explain this?" Nova opened it. A single page held her name, rank, and enlistment date. Stamped across it in bold red letters were the words, "Classification Conflict Access DENIED." "I cannot explain it, sir," Nova said calmly. "It is classified above my level of authorization." One of the other officers leaned forward. "Classified or just not there?" "Classified, sir." "How very convenient," the officer said with heavy sarcasm. "We have no way to check your story and you hide behind protocol." Nova said nothing. Holt began to tap his pen on the desk, a slow, deliberate rhythm. "Lieutenant Garrett has signed a statement claiming you admitted the tattoo was a tribute you bought online for soldiers you never knew." Nova's expression remained a blank slate. "That is not true, sir." "So Lieutenant Garrett is a liar, and you are telling the truth?" "Yes, sir. And we are just supposed to take your word for it." "I am not asking for your belief, sir. I am stating facts. My record is sealed. Lieutenant Garrett's statement is false." The third officer, a captain with sharp, calculating eyes, spoke in a softer tone. "Lieutenant Reed, we are giving you a chance. If there's a reason for this, provide some context. We can help." Nova met her gaze, a silent question passing between them. "I cannot provide that context, ma'am, not without a lawyer." Holt's pen stopped. "Legal counsel, so now you're a lawyer." "I'm protecting my clearances and my career, sir." "Your career?" Holt shot to his feet, his palms flat on the desk. "You don't have a career, you have a story, a tattoo, and a bad attitude." He straightened, holding up another paper. "I'm giving you 24 hours. Provide proof that explains this or voluntarily resign from the program. Those are your options." Nova stood, matching his posture. "And if I do neither, sir?" "Then you will face charges. Fraudulent enlistment, stolen valor, conduct unbecoming, the full force of military law. You will be dishonorably discharged and may face prison." The room was thick with silence. Nova's fingers found the coin in her pocket. She wanted to slap it on the desk and watch Holt's smug certainty shatter, but not yet. 24 hours, Holt repeated. "Dismissed." Nova executed a flawless about-face and walked out, the door clicking shut behind her. She walked down the hall, her mind racing. 72 hours. Her contact had given her 72 hours. She had 21 left. She could hold on. Cole was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. "I heard," he said quietly. "Then you know I can't talk about it." "I know you won't," Cole said, stepping closer. "But I also know that tattoo is not a fake." Nova paused on the last step, now at his eye level. "And how would you know that, sir?" "Because I saw it before. Kandahar, 2020, on the person who dragged me from a burning Humvee." Nova's face remained a mask, but her fingers stilled on the coin. Cole pressed on, his words tumbling out. "I never saw a face, just a hand on my chest holding me down, and on that arm I saw that ink, an eagle's wing, same lines, same design." "Many people have eagle tattoos, Captain." "Not like that one. I looked it up. Phantom crest. 11 confirmed killed in action, no listed survivors." "Then perhaps I am a ghost, sir." "Or perhaps the list is wrong." Nova held his gaze, calculating. She made a choice. 24 hours, Captain. After that, what you think you know won't matter." She walked past him and out into the glaring sun. Cole stood in the stairwell, his hands clenched. He pulled out his phone and opened a contact he hadn't used in years, a friend who specialized in military law. He typed a quick message, "Need help with sealed records. Name, Nova Reed, unit, Phantom Crest. Urgent." The reply came in less than a minute. "Phantom Crest is black file, top level. Whatever she's in, it's beyond my reach. Be careful, Aaron. People who look into black files have a way of disappearing. Black file, operations that officially never happened. Soldiers who couldn't defend themselves without revealing national secrets. Cole looked toward the barracks. If Nova was deep cover, then Holt had just put a target on an invaluable asset. And if Holt knew that and was proceeding anyway, then the real question wasn't about Nova. It was about what Holt was trying to hide. That night, Myra Lynn sat in her room, reviewing archived base surveillance logs. She was looking for a pattern, something she'd recognize when she saw it. And then she found it. A call log from 6 months ago, an outgoing call from Holt's office to an unlisted number. The date was 3 days before the official Phantom Crest memorial. Lynn cross-referenced the number. It traced to a logistics contractor, Meridian Defense Solutions, a company that would profit greatly from knowing troop deployment schedules in advance. She dug deeper. Call logs from 5 years ago, around the time of the Kandahar incident. The same unlisted number. Calls placed just before the operation, during, and in the days after. Her hands began to tremble. She searched for the Phantom Crest withdrawal authorization. The file was heavily redacted, but the signature at the bottom was clear: Colonel Damon Holt. Reason: logistical resource conflict. She saved screenshots to 3 separate encrypted drives and started recording an audio log. She needed proof. If Holt had pulled back Phantom Crest to cover something, if he'd been talking to contractors right before 11 soldiers died, and if Nova was a survivor, then this wasn't about stolen valor. It was about silencing a witness. Lynn paced her room. She considered going to Cole, but he was trapped by the chain of command. Nova wasn't. Nova was playing a different game. Lynn grabbed her jacket and headed for the barracks. Nova was sitting on her bunk when a soft, hesitant knock came at her door. "It's open." Myra Lynn entered, quietly closing the door. She held up her phone, displaying the call logs and the withdrawal order. "I know what he did," Lynn whispered, "and I have the proof." Nova looked from the screen to Lynn's face. "Why bring this to me?" "Because 6 months ago he did it to me. On a smaller scale, but it was the same game. He used me as a scapegoat." "And you think helping me fixes your problem?" "No," Lynn said, sitting on the opposite bunk. "I think exposing him stops him from doing it to anyone else." Nova saw the anger and fear in Lynn's eyes, and a deep need for justice she recognized all too well. "If you give me those files, you're in this. It will get messy." "I know. They will come after you." "I know," Lynn said, her voice stronger. "But I'm already buried. This way I can take him with me." Nova took the phone and examined the evidence. It was the pattern she had suspected all along. She handed it back. "Send me encrypted copies, then wipe your device and any backups. Erase everything." "What's your plan?" Nova walked to the window. "I'm going to make him prove it himself. Tomorrow he'll force a confrontation. He'll have to either admit he was wrong or double down to save himself." "What if he admits it?" "He won't," Nova said with absolute certainty. "Men like him can't. Admitting one lie means they all come crashing down." Lynn nodded. "What do you need from me?" "The files and your silence. When this is over, you were never here tonight." "Understood." Lynn left, closing the door softly. Nova stood at the window, her forehead pressed against the cool glass. Tomorrow, the 24 hours would be up. Tomorrow, Holt would try to break her in front of everyone. And tomorrow, she would show him exactly what he had thrown away 5 years ago. The emergency siren blared 2 hours before the usual wake-up call. "All personnel, emergency formation in the PT yard. Immediately." Nova dressed, laced her boots, and slipped the challenge coin into her pocket. She joined the confused stream of bodies heading for the yard. Holt stood on a raised platform, waiting with the patience of a spider in its web. He let the silence stretch, then his amplified voice boomed. "This morning we will address a matter of honor, of integrity, and of the sacred trust we place in one another." He gestured to the side. "Lieutenant Nova Reed, front and center." Nova stepped from the formation and walked to the platform, her steps measured. She stood at attention, her eyes fixed forward. Holt looked down at her. "Yesterday I gave you 24 hours to produce proof of your service. Did you?" "No, sir." "Then you admit your record is unverifiable." "I admit my record is classified above standard protocols, sir." "Classified?" Holt said, turning to the formation. "This is what happens when someone confuses a tattoo parlor for a recruiting office." He looked back at Nova. Take off your jacket. Show everyone what you've been hiding. This was it, the moment of truth. Nova unzipped her jacket, let it drop, and stood in her black tank top. Fully visible on her left shoulder was the tattoo, an eagle gripping a sword. Below it were the words 7 Alpha Phantom Crest. And running from her shoulder down her ribs was a long, jagged scar, the kind left by shrapnel from an exploding vehicle. The yard fell dead silent. A gasp broke the stillness, followed by another. Captain Cole stepped forward, his eyes locked on the tattoo. "Sir," he said, his voice tight with awe, "that is not a fake." "Captain, I did not give you." "With all due respect, sir, that tattoo is real." Nova reached into her pocket, pulled out the challenge coin, and set it on the platform at Holt's feet. It rang out like a verdict. The coin spun once and settled, eagle side up. Holt stared at it, the color draining from his face. Cole climbed the platform, picked up the coin, and turned it over. His hands began to shake as he read the engraving, Crest 07 Alpha, KDH 2020. "This is real," he whispered, then louder, his voice cracking. "Sir, this is real. Only 11 of these were made, all for members of Phantom Crest, all KIA in Kandahar." "Then how does she have one?" Holt demanded, his voice defensive. Nova spoke, her tone cold and precise. "Because there were 12 of us, sir, not 11. The formation erupted. In the chaos, Myra Lynn walked to the platform, holding a tablet. "Captain Cole, Colonel Holt, you should see this." Cole took the tablet, his expression shifting from confusion to fury. "What is this?" "Call logs, sir," Lynn announced loudly. "From Colonel Holt's office to Meridian Defense Solutions. The dates match the Phantom Crest operation." The yard went quiet again, a new, dangerous silence. "Sir, is this true?" Cole asked, looking at Holt. "That's classified. She had no right." "It's not classified if it's evidence of a crime, sir," Lynn shot back. Cole's voice grew colder. "This shows you spoke with the contractor 4 hours before you issued the withdrawal order, 4 hours before the IED strike that killed 11 soldiers." "There's more, sir," Lynn said. She played an audio file from her phone. Holt's voice filled the air. "The unit needs to pull back. I don't care what the tactical assessment says." Another voice replied, "And the shipment routes are clear, as we discussed." Then Holt again. This conversation never happened. The recording ended. Every face was turned to Holt, a mask of shock and betrayal. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. He looked like a man watching his world burn. Cole descended the platform, walked to Nova, and handed her the challenge coin. "Lieutenant Reed, on behalf of this command, I apologize." "Thank you, Captain," Nova said, closing her fist around the coin. Cole turned back to Holt. "Sir, you need to step down." "I don't take orders from you, Captain." "Then you'll take them from me." A man in a dark suit strode onto the yard, his authority radiating from him. "Agent Elias Cross, CIA," he flashed a badge. "Colonel Damon Holt, you are under investigative detention for conspiracy to commit treason." Holt's face went from red to gray. "This is a setup, you planned this," he snarled at Nova. Nova met his gaze, her voice devoid of emotion. "No, sir, I gave you every chance to do the right thing. You chose this. You did this to yourself." As 2 agents led Holt away, his voice rose in a final, desperate cry. "You will regret this." Nova's voice followed him, quiet but clear. 11 people already regret trusting you, sir. They just can't tell you anymore." The SUV drove off, leaving a stunned silence. Agent Cross turned to Nova. "Good to see you on your feet, Lieutenant." "Agent Cross, you were cutting it close." "I had 72 hours. I used 71 and 53 minutes, Cross said with a thin smile. He turned to Cole. "Captain, you're coming with me for a briefing." Cole followed him, glancing back at Nova. She stood alone for a moment, then pulled her jacket back on, covering the tattoo once more. She walked toward the stunned recruits, stopping in front of Garrett. "You posted my photo," she said softly, "called me a fraud." Garrett swallowed hard. "I didn't know." "You didn't care. You will now pull every communication log between Holt and Meridian for the last 6 years. You'll build the timeline." Garrett nodded, his face pale. "Yes, ma'am." She turned to Brennan. "Sergeant, you will be my sparring partner every day until I am satisfied you understand the difference between strength and intimidation." He nodded stiffly. "Yes, ma'am." Nova addressed the entire formation. "Respect isn't given for a rank, it is earned through integrity." She walked off the yard, the whispers that followed her now laced with awe and fear. In a small briefing room, Agent Cross laid out the truth for Cole. Phantom Crest was a 12-person joint task force. They were disrupting a smuggling ring. Too effective. Holt, on the smugglers' payroll, pulled them back. The smugglers knew they were coming. And Nova, Cole asked. She was the tactical coordinator. She went dark, spent months tracking the leak. She volunteered to be the bait to draw Holt out. You let her walk into that? She insisted, Cross said, closing the file. 11 of her team were dead. She's been waiting 5 years for this. Now we build the case against Holt, and Nova goes back to work. Later, Cole found Nova by the memorial wall. You asked where I trained, she said. Everywhere and nowhere, with people who don't exist in any database. The people you trained with. Most of them are on that wall. I'm sorry. Don't be, they knew the risks, so did I. What's next for you? Nova pulled out the coin. I finish what they started. She handed it to him. Keep this. Make sure it ends up on the wall with the others, eventually. Eventually. I'm leaving in 2 days. There's more work. Nova. Thank you, Captain, she said gently, for believing me when no one else would. She started to walk away. If you don't come back, Cole called after her. Then you tell the story, she said without turning. The real one. The next morning, a new commander, Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Vance, arrived. Her first action was to announce a full review of all command protocols. We lost your trust, she told the formation. We will earn it back. Vance later gave Nova a medal. I didn't do this for recognition, ma'am. I know, Vance said, but the 11 on that wall deserve to be honored. This is how we remember. Vance also handed her a folder. A job offer, desk work. Nova didn't open it. I'm not suited for a desk, ma'am. I know, Vance said with a knowing look, but the offer stands. Cole found Nova outside. You're not dead yet, he said, holding up the coin, so I'll take that back. What if I want to keep it? Cole asked, as a reminder that some people still fight for the right reasons. Nova paused. Keep it then, but I'm coming back for it. When you come back, Cole repeated, not if. Not if, she confirmed and walked away. 3 days later, at a new memorial service, Nova spoke. They died because someone decided profit mattered more than loyalty, she said, her voice steady. I can't bring them back, but I can make sure they are remembered, not just as a tragedy, but as a warning that betrayal has a price. Later, Cole found her at the wall. What happens now? He asked. She showed him a message on her phone. Tower 4 still active. 4 survivors confirmed. Await your signal. There are more, she said. From other betrayals, hiding, afraid. And you're going after them. Someone has to tell them it's safe to speak. You won't stop, will you? Would you, she asked. No, he admitted, I wouldn't. Nova, wait, he said as she turned to go. Why did you really give me the coin? Her expression softened. Because if I didn't come back, I needed someone to remember why the fight was worth it. Keep it. Because this won't be the last fight. And if I don't make it back from one of them, someone has to finish what we started. She left. Cole watched her go, the coin a heavy promise in his hand. He couldn't follow her into the shadows, but he could make sure someone was watching her back. That night, Nova studied 4 faces on her laptop, 4 survivors, scattered and scared. She memorized their files. A knock on the door. It was Lynn. I kept digging, she said, holding a tablet. Meridian is still operating. Holt was just one part of a bigger network. Cross needs this, Nova said. Already sent it, but there's more. One of their new transactions is domestic, high-level clearance. Then I get the survivors safe, Nova said, packing her gear. Then we burn the whole network down. At dawn, she drove off the base. Her phone buzzed. Santos confirmed contact. Denver, 72-hour window. Nova typed back, acknowledged, on my way. The highway stretched out before her. 4 survivors, 4 pieces of a puzzle. Behind her, the sun rose, painting the sky the color of fire and dawn. 2 weeks later, a package arrived for Cole. Inside was a photo of Nova with 4 other people, all survivors. On the back, a note. They found their voices. The coin is yours until I need it back. Cole pinned the photo to his wall. He picked up the coin, feeling its weight. He sent a message to Nova's encrypted number. The coin is safe, and so is the promise. Come home when you're done. He didn't need a reply. He knew that somewhere she was doing the work that had to be done. And on the memorial wall, 11 names stood witness, waiting for the day the 12th could finally rest. But that day was not today. Today, she was still hunting.